we're back. 1580 103.3 WPKY. We are joined this morning by our guest, Kota Young from the Senior Center. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am here.
I understand the feeling.
I am here this morning.
Yeah, well, let me start by congratulating you on your new position.
Thank you. For the most part, I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it gets more fun the longer you stay with it, and I can say that from personal experience, but I think they found a good one, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Kota, what have we got going on at the Senior Center this morning?
Well, it's a developing story, so there's not a lot of information, but I wanted to go ahead and share with the community what I know so far. I was just recently appointed to the board at the Senior Citizen Center. Actually, my first meeting was last week, and it was a doozy. It turns out that the PACS, Pennyroyal Allied Community Services, which provides the aging services for the Pennyroyal Area Development District, which covers 9 counties in western Kentucky, is facing a 22% reduction in their budget. Surprise, surprise. I mean, that seems to be all that's in the news now, which is going to lead to some significant changes in the provision of services to our retired individuals in our community. Really, the biggest change is going to be in the meals. Now, if you've been out to our Senior Citizen Center lately, you'll know that currently the meals are cooked in each center in the 9 counties. So, if you go out to Caldwell County Senior Citizen today, which if you want to, I'm sure they have a delicious meal available. They'll actually do the cooking on site. They have the kitchen staff that prepares those meals. But facing that 22% cut, they've actually decided to consolidate the cooking sites to 3 counties out of the 9, and then have those 3 counties, those meals, be delivered to the adjoining counties. So, for example, in our situation, Lyon County will be providing our meals. Lyon County will be cooking for Crittenden County, Livingston, Trigg, Caldwell, and, of course, Lyon County itself, which leads to a host of logistical problems, as I'm sure you can imagine, with keeping food warm and just like I said, the logistics of delivery, because it's also going to lead to staff reductions at our center. So with a reduced staff, now we have to have someone to drive all the way to Lyon County to pick up the meals and to bring them back. And the meals actually won't be prepared in Lyon County. It'll just be, like a potluck, the large dishes. So not only do you have to get the dishes to Caldwell, then we have to have staff to prepare the meals, and then you have to turn around and take those meals to our home delivered meals. Our Senior Citizen Center, as the other Senior Citizen Centers do, they deliver to homebound elderly individuals, which is just such an incredible service. But I mean, if you can imagine a meal being cooked in Lyon County, being brought to Caldwell County, prepared in Caldwell County, and then driven as far away as Fredonia in some cases, it doesn't seem to me to make much sense.
Right. The quality of the meal is going to diminish.
Well, the issue is because PAD contracts with PACS to provide these services. And, PAD, rightfully so, has regulations on temperature of food. And, of course, you don't want to be taking these meals to homebound retirees and elderly individuals that's inedible because it's cooled off so much. I mean, and that limits what you can have on your menus, and it's just an unfortunate situation all the way around. So this is, like I said, it's a developing situation. The budget cuts have already been announced. It looks like they're going to roll this out January 1st. But there is a push, and I don't know about the other communities, but I know there's a push, at least on our board and from those that we've spoken to try to lobby our elected officials to restore that budget cut and try to restore some of the funding to this vital service. Because, when it really comes down to it, I mean, there's 2 sides to it. On the one, it's taking care of our elderly population, just from a moral, human standpoint, just trying to take care of some of the most vulnerable among us.
Right.
But then, from the other standpoint, if you just want to look at basic economics, keeping our retirees healthy, happy, and at home helps us so much in the long run from an economic standpoint. Because, I can say this from my experience with my grandmother. We always tried to get her, she just passed away earlier this year, but we always tried to get her to do the home delivered meals, because that was one thing she lived at home until she was 90, and she just wasn't able to cook for herself. And, that lack of nutrition really contributed to her going to
Of course.
the nursing home where
Right.
she spent the next 4 years of her life. And, just from a basic, societal economic standpoint, keeping these elderly individuals at home where, of course, they're more happy and they live fuller lives is just so important to the bottom line, because I'm sure as any of us have had an elderly relative go to the retirement home knows it's not cheap.
Right.
And in many cases, it's us that end up paying for it. So, I mean, you can either look at it from, just trying to take care, like I said, of our elderly population, just from wanting to help your fellow man. But you can also look at it just from a budget standpoint. I think this is very myopic and short-sighted from the
Sure.
state government. And I think it's going to end up costing us more money in the long run.
Right. Right.
But, it's kicking the can down the road, which how many times do we see that happen?
Sure. Do you have any thoughts on possible solutions, or is the board working on something to offer as a solution, as an alternative?
Well, like I said, one thing we're looking into right now, or I'm looking into, I don't want to speak for the board as a whole, although I know this is an issue. I mean, this was a common view expressed at our last board meeting, but just really the first step is just trying to get that funding restored, especially luckily it's an election year. It seems like our politicians are a little bit more amenable in an
Sure.
election year.
Sure.
But I encourage any of our listeners today to reach out to your state representative, Lynn Beckler, your state senator, Dorsey Ridley, and of course their opponents as well, just to make sure that you reach out to. Come November 6th, we'll know with a little bit more certainty who we'll be dealing with in the years ahead. But it's good to go ahead and start having those conversations and just see if, from a state standpoint, if there isn't a way that they can try to restore that funding. Because because this is just the first round of cuts.
Right.
They've actually already shared that a second round of cuts should be expected in the upcoming fiscal year 2020, which another 22% cut, I just don't see how we continue past that.
I see.
I mean, with our reduction in staff, there's still so much up in the air with how many staff we'll have left at this center, and just additional cuts, they're just going to cut us to death.
Right. Well, Kota, please keep us informed and up to date on what is going on there. We really want to stay on top of that. And
Yeah,
we
well,
thank
I
you
appreciate
for
it.
coming in this morning and talking about that. And
Yeah.
we'll you be in touch with us, okay?
Well, I was going to say also not to.
Sorry, no, go
No,
ahead.
but with just talking about the Senior Citizen Center, they provide so many wonderful services to the community. And actually, this Friday, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this Friday at 10 a.m. is actually going to be their Halloween party.
Oh.
So any seniors that are listening, be sure to, keep your eyes peeled for that for more information. But yeah, I believe their Halloween party is coming up, and they always put on a great event. I think there's going to be a costume contest as well. So
Yay.
yeah, and then
Sounds fun.
not to just throw everything together, not to change gears, but I also wanted to share that the Benny Pryor Band will, now if y'all remember from Black Patch, unfortunately it was rained out a little bit earlier, but the Optimist Club wanted to try to reschedule some of those later in the afternoon events that they weren't able to have actually on that Black Patch Saturday. So the Benny Pryor Band will be providing country music and an opportunity for square dance enthusiasts to show off their talents this Saturday from 5 until 7, a little after 5:15 to 7, at the Planters Pavilion. That's downtown right there beside City Hall and across from Newsom's. It's a free event. And, of course, we just encourage everyone in the community to come out and do a little dancing. So,
Excellent. That sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, well,
Sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, well,
Our seniors are lucky to have, Princeton seniors are lucky to have that.
yeah, there's just so many. It's just, there's so much available. And I also encourage, even with, the approaching cuts, I still encourage, if you're a senior listening and you haven't been out to our Senior Citizen Center, please do. It's, the meals there are fantastic, at least for the short term. Up until, we'll see how this all plays out. But, they put on great events. I know they have bingo every week and a Bible study and just these, one-off events like the Halloween costume contest. It's just, it's something worth taking a look at. And, it's just a great opportunity to socialize. And, it's a great benefit for our seniors. And I think, not to continue to wax poetic or anything, but it really bothers me. I think one of the most short-sighted things individuals can do is not take care of our elderly population, because God willing, we're all going to be elderly one of these days.
Right.
And I think there is no more perfect example of what comes around goes around than how you treat your elderly population.
Sure.
But
Okay, Kota, anything else before we wrap up the day?
well, actually, there's one more thing. Not to change gears once again, let me just pull it up real quick if you don't mind. There is from a council standpoint, there is a special called meeting coming up on the 25th. What day is the 25th? That's actually tomorrow. Okay, yeah. There is a special call meeting of the Princeton City Council tomorrow at 5:10, and that will be after there will be a public hearing at 5 to discuss the proposed tax rates. So I encourage everyone in the community, if there's anything you'd like to share or to speak before the council concerning the proposed tax rates, I encourage them to come down to the Tourist Welcome Center, City Hall Chamber, and to make those views heard. So.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Kota Young, excuse me. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm getting choked up. Kota Young, Senior Center. And again, be sure to keep us up to date on that budget cut.
Will do. Thank you so much.
And now a list of things better than our playlist. Pizza.
Yeah, pizza.